Hi, welcome to the Thursday edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight. You follow me, I'll follow you back. This is part two of the podcast yesterday. Mike had some technical difficulties, but we got everything worked out and we got him on here live. And we'll be able to talk a little bit more in depth about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers and what they've done. And, we're going to start first with the Jets game. But before we do anything else, Mike, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Gene. Just happy to be on and talk a Buccaneers win, which is surprising, and it's been a long time of victory, opportunity to see if we can make a run out of it and see if we can find a win. That's been the next mystery that this team has to solve.
Yeah, most definitely. So as you're looking at all this, what worked for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? What worked that we haven't seen in the past 5 games?
Well, I think what worked was just execution. I mean, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I think guys just finally got an urgency, but also play. It just seemed like every guy was running to the football, attacking the football. There was a more aggressive game plan in place. It wasn't there before. Just trusting each other out there, and communication was on point as far as being in the right spot, however who they had to pick up, and it really worked. They pretty much ran the 3-3-5 defense. There's 3 linemen, 3 linebackers, and 5 secondary, and it was pretty awesome to see. Mike Smith did a good job of disguising his blitzes and disguising who was coming, which kept the Jets off balance. They couldn't really run the football, which was good to see. We made plays. That's what matters. And as far as the offense goes, it was still a little shaky. The plays that mattered to be made, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that I did notice is they were playing as a team. They were playing more as a collective unit. The
Right.
way they were moving to the ball, like you said, they were flying to the ball. They were I don't know, the last 5 games they looked like they've been walking in quicksand. They weren't playing with the enthusiasm or the aggressiveness that you saw in this game against the Jets. And so it's really nice to see that. Hopefully they can build off of that and make that work. One thing that I will kind of talk about is the defense basically held a meeting after that Saints game. I don't know if you've heard this story. Held a meeting after the Saints game, and they basically decided that they would watch the game film together. So what they've determined is that, they have to play, they know, they saw the mistakes they made, and they kind of basically work together to come together as a collective unit, basically. And the one thing that I will say is this is the same thing that we saw last year when they had a blowout loss. They all came together and decided, hey, we need to fix this as a team. And it all starts in the locker room and works its way up. And that's what we hadn't seen in these last 5 games, any sense of urgency with the losses or the bad play that we've seen in the past. It just hasn't been there. And in your opinion, would you say this is kind of the same thing that we saw last year where they had their turning point? I think it was like a blowout against the Falcons, I believe. And they turned everything around after that game. Or I'm trying to remember which game it was. I think it was the Falcons.
No, you're correct. It's mind-boggling that it has to take place. I mean, I think, defensively, I was watching game film together the whole time. Even I would recommend the whole tape together. I think that's out that is not working for the offense, and you can help them out vice versa. I again, I understand that time with your position coaches and understand as far as what your position needs to do, but when defensively you communication so heavily, I think it's very important that you watch tape together. That should been happening from the get-go. I don't know if that has been happening, and maybe they got away from it, but just, why did it take so long? There's
Yeah.
accountability that needs to be installed, and good that it's happening now, but now you're in pretty much, you got your back against the wall and you got to win 7 straight.
Yeah, and again, why does it have to get to that point? If you have history, Gerald McCoy, Levante David, players like this have been through the bad times with the Bucs. Whether it's been Shiano, whether it's been Lovie Smith, they've been through all this. They know, these are things that can creep up on you if you let it happen. And I guess when I'm looking at this, I'm like, what took so long? Why did you have to get to game 5 and get blown out by the Saints in order to determine that, hey, we need to pull this together? And I just there's just so many things that go through my head. I look at Hard Knocks for one, and I'm not saying anything negative about Hard Knocks, but it just seems to me like they went out expecting to win games and they weren't actually going out and winning games, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. It seemed like they were putting the preparation in, but they were saying, hey, we already got this one in the bag for whatever reason, and not taking that preparation from the week leading to the game, applying it to the field at all. It just seems like there's something lost, throughout the practices, and they're just not applying it to the game. Finally, last week, in a while, they finally brought the intensity in practice, and it showed in the game. They started out, with a fire. Whatever reason, that hasn't been there. Yeah. Now, can they make a run? Yeah, it's definitely possible they can make a run. They have the talent to do so. Facing probably your toughest games coming up. You haven't had a bye week, so you're going to get tired. So, I mean, mentally, it's going to be a struggle. But, I mean, if this team can rally around it and find a way to fight, they can make it interesting because the pieces are there. And who knows if Jameis is going to come back. If he does and he's healthy, I think he'll play a lot better. The shoulder. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens.
The one thing that stuck out, there were a couple of players that really stuck out to me, and I was glad to see TJ Ward getting more time on the field. Number one, I again, that we've both made the same comments that we just, with that rotation of the merry-go-round in the secondary, you can't have that. You need consistency on the field, regardless, good or bad, in order to move forward. So it was good to see TJ Ward, a offseason acquisition, free agent acquisition. That's why you picked him up, just so he can help your team. You need to have him out on the field. I mean, he's a veteran presence, and he can make plays, which we saw a lot of plays from him as well. I mean, that was one of the things that kind of stood out to me. What I like to do now, moving forward, is just kind of talk about some of the players that stood out to you. And one player that I'm going to ask you about, because I know that you had talked specifically about him, is Chris Baker and what his impact was on the defensive line. Because I've heard a lot of people have thrown slander his way that he's trash or he's not good or he's not doing what he's supposed to do. All he is all talk. But I wanted to get your thoughts on it, based on what you saw. I thought that he handled the double teams that he was getting during the game. I thought he handled them very well.
And Mark, who does the film, he saw a lot. Chris Baker is just taking on consistent double teams, and he's freeing guys up a lot for our linebackers. I mean, Levante David and Quan Alexander being able to run free because of Chris Baker, because of Gerald McCoy being able to take on guys and pretty much create space for them, which allows them to make plays in the backfield, which, is needed. I don't think the criticism is fair for Chris Baker. I thought he's done a really good job as far as when he's in there. His job. I mean, that's all you can ask for. His assignment is, and he makes the best of it. And I think he's done a pretty good job. Again, can be better, and I think the last couple of weeks. I think he's been one of our best defensive linemen so far.
Yeah, I thought Clinton McDonald had a good game as well.
Yeah.
I like how they're rotating him in. That's kind of what we expected to see in the beginning of the season. The one thing I can say about the defense this week, this is what I expected to see at the beginning of the season. I don't know about you. I didn't expect to see a porous defense against the run. And I kind of talked about this last night. Now, kind of touch on it again today. The fact that Adrian Peterson gouged the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just annoys the heck out of me. And that's only because if you look at what Adrian Peterson has done after the Bucs, other than the Niners game, he really hasn't produced, more than 30, 40 yards per game. And, it just seems like the Bucs just weren't executing and they weren't wrapping up. They weren't making tackles. They weren't making plays. And they were just kind of in a disarray where they, nobody knew what their real assignment was. They played kind of tentative. So, I kind of wanted to, again, ask you, what do you see from them that's different this week than what we've seen in weeks past?
Yeah, I mean, it really just starts with the mindset overall. I thought, defensively, for whatever reason, we were just too concerned about giving up the big play. I thought, we were doing our best to not allow explosive plays, but I think this past week we really just focused on being aggressive and, like I said, attacking the football. Done, to start begin with. And they really just came out in a 3-3-5 set and really played aggressive. They just, they played press man pretty much the whole game, pretty much a single high safety. And at times they bring the safety down in the box where you have an 8-man front. And then they would create blitz disguises off of that. They would either rotate or Levante David or even Kendall Beckwith, who had a nice sack.
He looked pretty good off the edges, right?
Yeah, he did. He impressed me. I thought the whole linebacking core was outstanding. Was again our best player on the field. But it was just more of just going north and south and attacking the football. We saw less stunts from the defensive line, which was nice to see. Just moving guys around the line of scrimmage as far as who they're going to bring pressure with, and their defensive ends out of, into zone coverages, which was nice to see. But it worked perfectly because the Jets didn't know what was coming. They didn't know who was going to come next, and it really caused confusion. So they couldn't really get anything going. They had a few big plays, but that was about it. But again, you can allow those because you're being aggressive on first and second down, and that's what made them successful. They forced a lot of third and longs, and I think they only allowed downs off a third down. I think there were 3 for 12 or something like that. They weren't very good on third down. So, and that's what you want to see, hold teams, to a low third down percentage critical going forward. I saw a lot of good things defensively. Offensively, I thought, again, standout was our kicker, Patrick Murray. That guy's money so far. I think he needs to get a contract extension. I thought Fitzpatrick played okay. Again, he wasn't stellar. He had a lot of throws that, could have been better. I thought he missed a touchdown to Chris Godwin. Have been a big play. Just a lot of balls that, shouldn't have been thrown. But again, he is a backup for a reason. And I thought for what he did, I thought it was good enough. And I like that they ran the football. I mean, I know it wasn't effective, but they ran it 31 times to see. Didn't get much yardage, but just the threat of the run was nice. And it was a little bit more was better as far as being more getting the ball out quicker. I saw some nice quick slants. I thought Deshaun Jackson got involved very nicely. Good things. Chris Godwin stepping up. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was the defense game to win, and that's what they did.
Yep. And, I'm 100% in agreement with you. Chris Godwin stuck out to me. He's a guy that I know you guys, again, you guys were spot on with him. I was a little bit late to the party. And there were other players that I thought that, maybe Tampa could have drafted to help on the defensive side of the ball. But again, like here we are right now. And based on his play, based on his down the field blocking alone, down the field blocking by a wide receiver. I mean, I was happy with what Mike Evans was doing, but this guy right here, he's just taking it up a whole nother level as far as blocking. I thought another guy that really stood out to me was the tight end, OJ Howard. I thought he blocked. He is a tremendous blocker, and he didn't no catches, no fantasy points or anything like that, but he did what he needed to do to help the team win. So again, those are two guys that really stood out to me, and they're rookies. So that's something to be excited about.
Yeah, back to Chris Godwin, just his ability to, you look at the Charles Sims play. I mean, he takes out the safety, pretty much throws him to the ground, and then he's running full speed, catching up to Charles Sims, and he almost gets a block on the guy who gets the tackle. If he gets that block, Charles Sims maybe slows down just a hair. He's probably scoring a touchdown on that play. I mean, it's by Chris Godwin, and he's always full go. I mean, the guy doesn't slow down. He's always giving maximum effort, which you like to see. And just some of the catches that he made, catches in traffic was very impressive. The ability to fight for extra yards on that one catch he had was very awesome to see. So
that was like what, 3rd and 14? That was 3rd and 14, and I think he put him in 2nd and 14 and put him in 3rd and short position.
Yeah, exactly. And fight that he shows on every play is really cool to see. And we have an article up at Real Bucs Talk on him. It's just, I think this is just the beginning for him, because I think he'll continue to grow. It's kind of nice that he's in a secondary role, because he can still learn the game. And I think once he gets just overall understanding, I think the sky's the limit for him, because he already has the route running down, receiver, like you said, and the guy catches pretty much anything that is thrown near him. So he's got all the talent. And again, he probably should have had a touchdown. He should have had a touchdown probably. Fitzpatrick I mean, all Fitzpatrick had to do was lead him in space, and it's probably an easy touchdown. But it didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought it was defensively. I mean, defensively took the game. It really looked strong, and I'm just hoping they can continue to keep that mindset. Win on 1st and 2nd down. Display more blitzes early in the downs, and I thought they did that. The other team in 3rd and long situations, I think it's about. And, offensively, I thought they played more of a ball control style offense, which I want to see more, especially with Jameson there. I think they need to do that, control the clock, play the field position game, because you have a hell of a punter. Utilize your skill set on defense and try to force turnovers and make a short field for the offense. I think they did that very well in this game, and it worked to their benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that just frustrates me more than anything, and I know that I've never played quarterback, so I couldn't really tell you, but the accuracy is what frustrates me more than anything. You've got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's been in the league for God who knows how long, and that accuracy needs to be there. He's throwing balls behind Deshaun Jackson, behind Chris Godwin. If you're, like you mentioned earlier, and what you're talking about with Chris Godwin, if you're leading Chris Godwin to the end zone, if you're putting the ball out there where only he can get it, and he has a lane to the end zone, he can do that. And he is a physical receiver, so he can do that. Another thing is, I just kind of went back and watched this. Deshaun Jackson's having to reach behind him to make a catch. Whereas if you're putting the ball in front of this guy, I promise you, he's going to take it to the house, or at least, he's going to get close. And there were some opportunities that I saw, and I'm not just putting this on Ryan Fitzpatrick. I saw the same thing with Jameis Winston, where balls were not put where they needed to be put, where you put your weapons, these guys that you pay millions of dollars to come here and help your team win. They're not able to execute these plays because, hey, you're having to reach back here and gain your footing. And there's a whole lot of things going on as a wide receiver because, number one, you got to find where the ball is. You have to know where your defender is. You have to know where some other defenders are that could be looking to lay a shot on you. And at the same time, you got to be looking to catch the ball, turn, and gain yardage on that. So there's a lot of things going on, and you're making it difficult by putting the ball away from where it needs to be in order to make those plays. So to me, I just I would like to see a little bit more accuracy out of these quarterbacks. Give your wide receivers a chance to succeed. But what I will say, the fact that Mike Evans, the number one receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, was out on suspension, and the Buccaneers were able to go in and utilize the wide receivers they had, it gives me hope for them winning more games throughout the season, the back end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, I think it also goes to, our quarterback needs to be better going through his progressions as well. I thought, there's at times when Fitzpatrick had time to throw and, again, it's that first option, not going through his progressions. You have guys running open coming across the middle like Adam Humphries get looked at. Again, I think the quarterback needs to do a better job of snap before he hikes it, understand what is going to be open as far as the defensive coverage goes. Remember that you have space, utilize that space, or look to where the defense is shaded before you hike the ball. Try to make a read pre-snap and see what would be your best option. Again, I think they get too focused on these first read options. It just doesn't lead to anything positive. Just can't force things. You got to take what is there. And again, Fitzpatrick did this at times. So it's not just Jameis. We can criticize Jameis all we want, but it's got to be a mindset, instilled into these guys. I don't know if that comes from the coaching staff or player, but it's got to come somewhere.
I've wondered about that because I don't know how many times we've been on here and we've talked about, Adam Humphries is running free. O.J. Howard is running free. Cameron Brate is running free off the line, untouched. Yeah, you get 5 yards there. You're going to have to make your secondary and your linebackers respect the middle of the field, which opens up for the long ball if that's what you decide to do later on. But it can't just be about the long ball. There has to be balance throughout the offense, whether it's the running game, whether it's your tight ends, whether it's your slot receiver. Everybody needs to get involved in order to make the offense work the way you want it to. Because I promise you, if people start doubling up on O.J. Howard or Cameron Brate, they start paying attention to Adam Humphries, that's going to open up your wide receivers to do what they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, and again, I thought the Bucs did a better job of this last week against the Jets. I thought they were more balanced overall. I did like some of the play calls that I saw. There was more short passes as far as comeback routes, slants over the middle. I saw some good things from the offense as far as the play calling goes. Again, at times, I thought it would have been better, but again, it comes down to execution as well. Blocks as far as who to pick up on the blitz. Offensive line needs to be a little bit better as far as who to block in the run game. Same thing with, so it's all collectively. Again, one guy misses his block, then that ruins pretty much the whole play. If he does get the block, he might have a potential big yardage play. So, that I think the coaching staff and the players need to get in touch with and get that fixed, and hopefully we can start seeing as we go forward. Another thing is the pre-snap penalties. Stop. I think delay of games and false starts, that just can't happen.
Now, is that more or less coaching,
Stop
or
with
would you
that.
say that's is that the quarterback, or is that coaching, or what do you see? Because normally those type of penalties you see in the preseason, you see in camp, but normally teams clean that up quite a bit before the season starts. So what would you attribute? I don't know. Is it the player himself, or is it the situation? What do you attribute to this?
Mixture of both. I think, delay of game, I think it goes on the coaches as well. You got to get the play in faster, but it's also up to the players to be aware of what's going on and how much time is left. You have to make sure communication is on point. Your center has to do a good job of making sure he understands that he needs to hike it at this time. Yeah, I mean, it's overall everyone. It's just better awareness. False starts, again, that just shouldn't happen, because everyone should be on the same page as far as the snap count. And once you go on two, you're going on two no matter what. You can't change the snap count once you unless there's an audible. But again, if you make an audible, then that audible has to be checked to everybody. And for whatever reason, either that's not happening, or guys are just not being aware of what's going on. So it's a mixture of both, and I think better discipline by everybody needs to be taken into account. But yeah, I'd like to see that stop. But I really liked how they play called the game. I think it was 34 passes to 31 runs, which I think we need to pretty much have every balance offense. I know it wasn't very successful. I know he didn't have a lot of yards. I think Doug Martin wasn't very good as far as his yards per carry. But again, just the threat of the run, it does a lot for your offense. You can just be more creative.
Well, they got it when they needed it. Charles Sims has been the bane of every Bucs fan's existence, because of the way he runs the ball. But you see that threat once you throw the ball to him out of the backfield, he can make some things happen. So, I feel like he kind of redeemed himself this week, and he did a good job. And again, that's something else that another defensive coordinator is going to have to game plan for, is Charles Sims possibly breaking a run for a long run. And we've said this. Charles Sims is that guy who's one play away from breaking it and taking it all the way to the house. So, if we could get him to run hardcore straight through the hole instead of dancing around, I'd be good with that.
Yeah, and you go back to coaching. The Bucs ran that touchdown play that the Bucs had with Charles Sims. They ran that play earlier in the game, and it ended up being I think Fitzpatrick ended up only getting like 2 yards pressured because they blitzed. Well, on the touchdown play, they blitzed again, and Coach Cutter, read it perfectly, and he sent Sims out. Sims had a one-on-one. He beat his man, and Fitzpatrick just laid it out there. Easy touchdown.
That was a nice touch pass too.
And Fitzpatrick had a couple of good ones there in that game with the touch passing. I thought he had a couple nice ones to Deshaun, coming across the middle, and really made some nice plays as far as, putting some nice touch on the ball, which was nice to see. It's something Jameis has to get better at, and hopefully he can see that by watching the game. You just understand little things. Again, Fitzpatrick's not perfect. He wasn't perfect in this game. Things and his movements, as far as what he did with the movement in the pocket, just little things like that, and how he changes his arm delivery, I think is what Jameis needs to take that next step within the pocket. And if he can do that and start becoming that elite quarterback that we all believe he can be eventually.
Yeah, most definitely. That's why he was drafted, is just for that purpose. And, I think he's well on his way. And I think he's a competitor, and he's the kind of guy that's going to take all this stuff to heart, and he's going to try to improve. And that's what we hope to see once he returns. I know, while we're on the subject of Jameis Winston, do you see him coming back this season?
I think it's possible, but again, I don't know. I think it depends on how weeks go. If we win this week,
his injury? Do you have any idea? How severe is his injury?
Oh, on his injury?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not sure because, I've reported that he might have a tear in his shoulder. And then it's also, the AC. I think, and, rest is the best thing for it. Rehabbing, and he's trying to get back. But I really think it depends on how the team plays. So again, I think this is pretty much a critical game. If they win this game, you get to 4-6, you go into Atlanta the following week, you pretty much have a chance. Yeah, you have a chance to get back into it. If you win that game, you're 5-6, and then you go into Green Bay. Again, they are vulnerable. Don't have Aaron Rodgers. Kind of suspect. Offensive line of Green Bay is kind of it's like, okay. Just depends on how the season goes, if we can make progress, and if the offense can get a little bit better as far as the running game goes and be more consistent defensively. If things out, I know it was against the Jets. They don't have the best talent.
A win is a win, man. I mean,
yeah, I know.
It's 150. You know what? And I get what you're saying, because that's what a lot of people say. Oh, it was the Jets, or it was just the Giants.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that's a 53-man roster of a professional football team. You have to go in and play and execute and win the game. So I like what they did, and it gives me hope that maybe they're turning the corner. Maybe they're realizing what we as fans, me and you as a blogger, me or us as podcasters see, that lead us to believe that, hey, this team has the tools to do it. They just need to go out and execute. And hopefully that's what we see. So, at this point, I'd like to get your final thoughts on the game versus the Jets. Who is if you had to give your game ball to, who would you be giving your game ball to for that Bucs versus Jets game?
Well, I would have to give it to Levante David.
Thank you.
Again,
we're on the same page. Go ahead.
Yeah, so much respect for Levante, and he's been our best player by far this season. I think he's been outstanding. If he doesn't make the Pro Bowl, or if he's not on the All-Pro first team, some hell, because I will be writing about it every day until he finally gets the respect that he deserves. And we try to write him as try to put him out there as much as possible, agent, and through whatever feedback we get on him, we try to put it out there, because the guy is an animal. I still can't believe that there was talk about him being traded by fans, and
I blocked all of them. Trust me. As soon as I saw that, I blocked all of them.
I mean, tremendous football player. I mean, just the stuff that he does is pretty remarkable. But yeah, he was my MVP. Final thoughts on the Jets game. I thought defensively, they finally woke up and played how they're supposed to. I thought Mike Smith finally figured out how to use his linebackers, in the blitz game, and, say, hey, we need to go and strap it up and go play aggressive, attack the football, stop with the soft stuff, and just go out there and play and hit somebody. And I thought they did that. They played more physical. They played more nasty. And it was consistently for 4 quarters. Defensively, I thought they just found a way to get it done. Sexy, but they did what they had to do. They protected the football for the most part, and got it done.
Yeah, and that's that for me. That's pretty much what I saw. They look totally different than what we've seen in the past 5 games. So I was really excited about that. Next question: who would you give you, and other than Levante David? We'll take him out because we're consensus on that. Who would be your runner-up? Who would be somebody else that you would look at giving your game ball to?
It'd have to be Patrick Murray. I know it's, but I mean, that's critical. I thought our kicker has been, I mean, since bringing him in, he's been money. I know he missed one, but it was a 54-yarder in a blowout game, against the Saints. But I mean, the guy's been outstanding. So I mean, if he misses one of them, that's a completely different game. So you just never know.
Yeah, what's really interesting about this beginning of the season, people were freaking out, jumping out the window about the kicking game. No,
Yeah.
weren't worried about anything else, but here we are, and we are at where our supposed bye week would be, and we're not even remotely talking about the kicking game. That's not even on anybody's radar right now. There are other things that have kind of reared their heads, and we're looking at, but the kicking game is the least of any of those. So I'm excited about that. I'm really ecstatic that that's not an issue that the Bucs are having to deal with, and there are other things that they can work on. So on top of what you're talking about, with the Jets game, I felt like there was a sense of urgency on defense. I felt like they were going in and they were wrapping up. And I don't know about you, but as I watched these last 5 games through the 5-game losing streak, you would see holes open up slowly, and the Bucs could not get anybody to take care of that. So what you saw was, it was like, runners were just running through. I could have ran through some of the holes that they had. So I was like, wow, this is crazy. We can't win games when they're playing like this, but they're playing on another level. And man, I'm happy with what I saw. So hopefully they can improve on that and do even better with this game coming up against the Miami Dolphins. So we'll kind of get into that. But if I were giving somebody my game ball, it would definitely be Kendall Beckwith. Kendall Beckwith again, and I'm still on the Kendall Beckwith apology tour. I am sorry. This guy he's something that I was not expecting this in any way, shape, or form. What we've seen from him, and he is better than he was billed coming out of college. And I think the Bucs hit a home run with him. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, Beckwith, this game, and I thought they used him properly. They finally used him off the edge. They let him blitz. He got a sack. I thought he was good in coverage, designed to do. I thought they used him well because, they didn't really, expose him in coverage. They let him cover the flats a lot with their linebackers. I thought either cover the flat or he was going in on a blitz. Same thing with Quan Alexander. They didn't really put their guys in bad situations, and that was the problem season. A lot of guys were just in the wrong spots and getting exposed. Past week, I thought guys were in the right place into their strengths, and it was nice to see finally that knew what they had to do and they were doing their jobs. We can start seeing that on a consistent basis. But again, like Jeremy McCoy said this week, we have to do it 2 times in a row, 3 times in a row, 4 times in a row. It's got to become habit. For doing that, that's when that's when you can go on and run a defense like they were last year. And hopefully, as a Bucs fan, they have it in them. I want to see this team be successful. I don't want to see another coaching change. See them get on a roll here because and I think if they can do it, and if find a way to get the offensive running game going, I think that is pretty much the only thing that is missing right now is the running game. I think if they can find a way to get that going, I think they have a chance to make something happen. Yeah, I mean, really well. And now going into this Miami week, you're pretty much facing a team that's on its heels as well. They're pretty much in do or die mode, same thing as we are. Going to be a game about who wants it more, and really who wants to save their season going into this week.
Yeah. Let's talk about Miami.
Mhm.
Miami's one of those teams that at the beginning of the season there were high hopes for them and what
Mhm.
they could potentially be, and then you lose your quarterback in Ryan Tannehill, and you bring in a guy like a Jay Cutler to replace him and possibly save the season somewhat. But we just have not seen that from the Miami Dolphins, and we saw where the Carolina Panthers just laid the wood on them. And then, during the
Mhm.
season, which was kind of weird to me, and I don't know, maybe you can explain this. Jay Ajayi, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. They trade
Yeah.
him to the Philadelphia Eagles, and I don't understand that move. Is it a political move, or I know that and I'm not going to get all in the protest or nothing like that, but I'm wondering what was the reasoning for getting rid of your one of your top running backs, and now you kind of
Mhm.
put your team in kind of a bad position going through the back end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think anyone understood the Jai move. I thought, that caught everyone. I mean, you pretty much taken a key piece to your offense. They really don't have anything on offense. They're one of the worst offensive teams in the league. I believe they only score about 14 points per game last month. I mean, they're just not very good. Line is very suspect. And you really don't have a leader at quarter. Cutler is a guy that I don't think wants to be in the NFL.
I
Seems like
think
he's
from
not
what
there
I've
most.
heard rumors that his wife made him get that contract.
Yeah, I believe that. It just seems like he's not interested for most of the time he's in there. Against the Panthers, I mean, he's just throwing passes to nobody. Um, I don't know. It's that trade was very awkward. I think it comes down to I heard rumors of Adam Gase being very demanding as far as in the locker room and what he expects of guys, and maybe there was a rift, between them as far as whether it's who gets the ball or what or how he runs the plays. I'm not sure, but it's very weird. They've had a very weird season. I mean, they started the season 4-2, and now they've lost 3 straight. So it looked like they were going to be kind of successful this year, but then you trade a Ajayi, and they just haven't been able to. I don't know. It's reeling, and they're pretty much their season's on the brink as well. It's pretty much this is it for both teams. I mean, it's do or die.
I see. Okay. Well, as we're moving forward, we're just kind of comparing the teams. I've heard rumors that Ndamukong Suh hasn't practiced with whatever the knee injury is that he has.
Mm.
Is there any truth to that?
I think, yeah, I don't think he's practiced so far this week. That would be a big loss to their defense. I mean, defensively, um, success these last 3 weeks, I think it's mainly because they get tired. I mean, the offense doesn't do much for them. They don't really have much of anything going. The secondary is suspect, pretty beat up. Linebacker play is kind of inconsistent. Is okay at times. They still have Cameron Wake, who's a really good rusher, and Sue at times can be really dominant. So that would be a big loss. That would help our
I'm
offensive
really
line
curious
for
to
sure.
I'm really curious to get your opinion. And you were talking about Ndamukong Suh, and this is just something that's kind
Mhm.
of been on my mind all week because I know we're playing Miami. Um,
Yeah.
when he was drafted ahead of Gerald McCoy. in your opinion, right now when you compare bodies of work, would you say would you compare them as pretty close, or do you think Tampa got the better end of the deal, or how do you feel about the whole Ndamukong Suh, Gerald McCoy? We're so many years removed from what had happened.
I think Sue has world, but his problem is as far as mentality. I think he could be defensive tackles in the game, but bringing it on every play, it just doesn't happen. His effort is just not there consistently.
He takes plays off.
The guy has the skill set, and again, he has that nastiness. He's really good at times, but again, as far as every down, bring it on every play that McCoy has, and that's what makes McCoy different. Brings it on every play. I don't see him taking plays off. He does his absolute and he has the skill set, from the beginning of the game. Now, again, McCoy gets double team, triple team consistently. And when he does get one-on-ones, you can see what happens if they use him correctly. Yeah. He had 2 sacks this past week when they finally used him right. So, again, I thought the Bucs got a great player in McCoy. It's unfortunate they just haven't been able to put the pieces around him that has been necessary. But, yeah, I think both players are going to be known as good players. But I think McCoy, and that is way above Ndamukong Suh. Just my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Last question about Ndamukong Suh. Is he a dirty player, or is he a hard player?
I think at times he's shown he can be dirty. I think it's that things that he does just is not necessary. You don't have to take your spike and shove it into, but alignment, whatever he did, but
he stepped on what's his name for Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers. Didn't he step on him or something like that? Or who did he step on? He stepped on somebody.
Offensive lineman, I believe.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, he's had some fights with Aaron Rodgers as well. But I would say he plays the game. I mean, that's just his way of trying to get into people's heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's football.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense. So yeah, we're about on the same page. Now let's look at we're going to look at Tampa Bay's defense versus Miami's offense. Who has the advantage here?
Well, it has to be Tampa Bay's defense. I mean, if they play like last week and just play that aggressive style, with their linebackers, I think they can have success. Offense is really struggling. Now, with that being said, they do have playmakers in Jarvis Landry, Parker, Kenny Still, outside Julius, and they have all the playmakers. But again, I just don't know if they have the quarterback that can make it happen. It's just very inconsistent play, similar to what we have. I mean, our quarterback play has been very inconsistent. But again, that being said, I think our defense would have the edge. Been playing, especially last week, if they can carry that over and just be aggressive and attack the football, they'll be very, very successful. I think Miami doesn't have much of a threat as a run game just because of losing Ajayi. I think that's huge. And Williams, so just not the same player to be beat. So yeah, I think we have a good chance to hold them down and keep them under 20. I think that would be very good for us. And I think offensively, ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they can just take what the defense gives them, because what I've noticed about Miami, just kind of going back and watching the film, is the middle is open to be had. And I think that The tight ends can take advantage. I could see, you know, drag routes. I can see your slot receivers having big games if you use them correctly. And I think there are opportunities there for the Bucs offense to get some scores. So you know, as I look at that, you know, I think that there are, you know, a lot of chances for the Bucs to do well with this. You know, just getting your opinion now on the Bucs offense versus the defense. You know, just kind of based on what I was saying. What are your thoughts on that? How do you think that the Bucs match up?
I think, like I said, against the Jets, I think we just need to continue with that balanced game plan. I think really stress getting that running game going, because I think that's going to be critical if this team is very serious about making a run. In a way to get a consistent ground game going, get Doug Martin, use Peyton Barber if you have to, and run more of a north and south running game. I think they're trying to do too many zone runs. I know Doug Martin is very at the zone run game. I think that's what he does best, when he can cut it back.
But it has to be natural. It can't be a schemed run. It's got to be something where he sees the hole and he can cut back to it. It can't be something, well, hey, we're going to run out and run this.
Yeah.
But if there's some opening.
Yeah. No, I agree.
No, go ahead.
No, you're right. You're right, Gene. Right. And I think, you know, it's just takes everybody to be doing their job. If one guy is not doing their job, it's not going to work. I saw that on tape consistently. Again, our guards have to be better as far as our run blocks. You know, Marpet is still doing a great job. I think he's been awesome. Tackle, guard, tight end, whether it's Stalker or Cameron Brate, OJ Howard, those guys have to be consistent and making sure that they're either getting the backside where you're running away from. That's got to be better. Out, you know, getting hats on hats, and I think it's just we got to do that more consistently. But I would like to see us run more north and south, run a more power gap scheme where our guards don't have to move as much, and just let them go north and south and push people.
You know, that's
where they're more successful.
That's something that's really frustrating to me is running a toss sweep. I would like to see him punch him in the mouth, go up the middle, open up some holes and run behind your air lineman, and you know, get 5 yards, get 4 yards, get 6 yards. You know, that would definitely help this team as they're moving forward. And I guess we're not seeing enough of that. We're not really seeing enough of the run. I mean, this last game was the first time I've seen this much of the run, you know, featured this season. And that's what you need to see more of, is the run. You need to punch these offensive linemen or these defensive linemen in the mouth. And you know, this is where you need to do. When you're running a sweep, yeah, you may have a good opportunity to get it. But if you got fast linebackers, or, you know, there's a lot of things that can happen that, you know, you just kind of clog up that run. But if you're running straight ahead, that's where you're going to benefit from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, against Miami, I think they have a good chance of getting this run game going. I liked a lot of the things that Carolina did against them. I thought they ran the football north and south, like I said, and they really just ran it right at them. Defensive ends who can be beat in the run game. And I would just like to see us try to do that. You know, again, I know we're not Carolina, so might not have the same success. But again, it's just about establishing that run and, you know, use more play action. I like that they had some play action with Adam Humphries coming across, and you just throw him in the flat. Just see more of that, especially on first down, just to change it up, and then run it more in second and third down. I'd like to see that and have that against Miami. And then I think they can be beaten. I think you can use your mismatches with Mike Evans now returning, but use them more on, comebacks, get the easy yards. I think that's what this offense has been missing so far. And I think if they start doing that more consistently, big things going forward.
You know what? And in you saying that makes me think about all these little short 5 yard, 6 yard gains that they could have just dumping the ball off, letting your tight end or your wide receiver or even your running back make those plays. Maybe they can go from a, I don't know, a first and 5. Maybe they can get like a, second down and 2. Put something that's manageable for the defense, for the offense to keep moving the ball down the field. We're just not seeing it. You can't keep going for the home run and expect to win football games. You have to take what the defense gives you in order to win these games. And that's just, what we saw last week is, the start of it. But I would like to see, Tampa do a little bit more of that. And again, I think it would behoove Dirk Cutter to let Todd call the plays, the offensive play calling, where he can pay attention to detail. I think that's where a lot of this is getting lost, because we saw the same thing with Lovie Smith, where he was calling the defensive plays and he couldn't pay attention to details. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that, but there are only a handful of coaches that I really appreciate them calling the offensive plays or defensive plays as well as being the head coach, but there aren't that many.
Right. Yeah. And I think, that's a great point. And I think that's something come up in the off season. If Coach Carter remains as head coach, I think big emphasis, whether they go out and get a new offense coordinator or they keep Todd Monken and just let him call the plays, keep the same playbook, and, allow coach. And I think that needs to take place and really focus on the mechanics of Jameis Winston and making him a better quarterback, not only outside of the pocket, but within the pocket, because that is where most of his struggles come from.
And I think what frustrates me is, why do you have an offensive coordinator if you're going to be the one if you're going to be doing the play calling? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it happens in Arizona. Arizona, Harold Goodwin, who's the offense coordinator, and he does a lot of the game installs, and that's what Todd Monken does. They do the game installs with the head coach, and they go over a lot of the game plan and making sure that Paul's ready and get the script ready for the first 15 plays and stuff like that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the head coach should be an overseer of everything, and that's what their job is supposed to be, making sure that everything is on point, detail oriented, and making sure that execution is the most important thing, because that's really what wins games. If you're executing properly, you're going to be hard to stop. Let's look at the Patriots. The Patriots every week, rarely do they beat themselves. I mean, rarely do they beat themselves. And that's what makes them so successful.
Now, when and I'm going to ask you, when you look at the Patriots organization, do they utilize their defensive and offensive coordinators in conjunction with the head coach? Would you?
Yeah, exactly. They do.
Exactly.
They use he runs Bill Belichick's system, but they know what to do. They know what to expect as far as what they need from their players. And it's really just, they're all working together. That's what makes them very successful. And they know how to put guys in the right spots to succeed. And that's really what it is. That's what coaching is. I mean, that's pretty much just finding ways to make your guys play better than they actually are. And you're raising your whole team because they're working as one, and that's really what it is. I mean, that's why they call it ultimate team sport.
You're continually fine-tuning that team to get them to do what you need them to do.
Right, exactly.
So, and I just want to, I kind of lost my train of thought there. But okay. As we're looking at this game, and you look through the rest of the season, these are all winnable games. And again, I know I sound like a broken record. I've been saying this since day one, but these are all
Mhm.
winnable games. These are games that
They
if
are.
Tampa goes out and executes like we know they can, if they go out and they take
Mhm.
advantage of what the defense is giving them, and they are taking advantage of all this, I don't see where uh, they should have any problems. Again, I think they
Mhm.
realize that they are a better team than what they've been playing as these last 5 games, and hopefully they can improve on that and move forward with that. Just knowing that, and that's what
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to is an improvement off of this game the next week. You listen to the Ryan Fitzpatrick interview, post
Yeah.
game interview on Sunday. He said he did not play his best football. He can play better.
Mhm.
That's what we need to say. And we know that he was brought in just for the situation that he's in right now. And he needs to go out and he needs to execute and be successful. It may be an ugly win, but I'll take a win over a close loss any day. And any kind of win that you can get, that W puts us closer to being in the playoffs potentially. I know a lot of people have given up on that, but you never know. You have to go out and play these games all the way to the end of the season and see how everything shakes out. Um,
Mhm.
I personally would like to see Dirk Cutter have another season here, me personally,
Mhm.
and see
Yeah.
if they can correct a lot of the issues that they're having this year. I with no hard knocks, them just going in and going into the preseason, you've got the same system, you got the same coaches. See if they can improve on that. Because again, me and you have both said it, and I believe that a lot of this lies on the shoulders of the offense or the defense where they're not making tackles, they're not catching the ball, or there's no accuracy, they're not running the ball. I think there's a lot of blame to go around for everybody. And I think that if they
Mhm.
can get a lot of that cleaned up, this can be a team that can go to the playoffs.
No, you're right. I mean, it's going to come down to that sense of urgency, having that want to, especially on defense. I thought, they had one of their better games this last week, and I think if they can find a way to just bottle that up every week and keep that where they're attacking the football, I think this team can be very tough to score against and very tough to move the football, making it tough for opposing offenses, which is going to benefit hopefully our offense here and get going, especially in that run game. I think if they can do that, open things up and really attack defenses and really put some points up. But again, it just comes down to execution. Guys have to be on the same page and really there and get it done. It starts with the quarterback, and like Fitzpatrick said, he has to be better. The good thing is he's faced Miami before, so he knows the opponent, which is good. He has experience against them, playing in the AFC East, so that's good. And hopefully he can help us out and get a win this week and get us, on a little roll here and to get hot going into in 2 weeks. So that would be good. And it's very possible. I mean, like we said all year, this team has the talent. It's not a talent issue. It's just about doing your job. And on the defensive side of the ball last week, it's a churn to do the same.
What's really interesting to me, I listen to a lot of interviews. Deshaun Jackson said something that was very interesting to me. And he basically stated that a lot of teams, the majority of the teams that have not beat the Bucs have beaten themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
I I have to agree with that. There are a lot of plays that if you get a stop here or a stop there, it changes the momentum of the game and it changes how play calling is done. When you
Yeah.
have a lead, your play calling changes. When you're behind by 2 touchdowns, your play calling changes. When you're up by 30, your play calling, everything is based on where you are. It's situational football. And what people fail to understand is you get a stop. Like, for instance, I go back to the Arizona game because it's the most frustrating game I've ever watched in my life. And the fact that you got these holes open up and players aren't flying to the ball. You stop Adrian Peterson. You stop him at 1st and 5. You get a 3 and out in that first half instead of them going down the field and scoring. What was it, 4 times in a row or something like that?
Right.
You change the dynamics of the game totally.
Yeah.
You totally changed. That game is a totally different game than what we ended up seeing. So again, there are a lot of things that could have been done that weren't done that should have been done. But again, that's all in the past. But here we are now, and hopefully they've learned from all that, and as they move forward, they can do a lot more with that. That's what I'm hoping for with this Miami game as a stepping stone towards the following week to just keep going and going and going to finish the season strong at least.
I mean, the main thing is you just want to continue to see steps taken forward. You just want to
Exactly.
You don't want to see regression back. The defense made so many strides last week. You'd like to see them continue to do that. Not allow another 30 points on the road and take a big step backwards. You'd like to just see them come out, be consistent, and hopefully the offense can take the big step now this week, and match the defense and play a complete game of football for 60 minutes. We really haven't had that yet, each side of the ball, but it really hasn't shown on all 3 phases. Special teams is starting to do their jobs, which is nice. From Bernard Reedy, which was good.
Yeah, he was a couple of yards short of breaking one.
Yeah, and our kickers have been outstanding. So it's just continue to take many steps forward. I think that would be a big plus going forward, and hopefully we can get a winning streak going. Again, like I said, it just comes down to execution.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So what is the article? What is your next article that you have coming up for Real Bucs Talk?
Yeah, last time I was on here, I was thinking about writing some off season and how changes and stuff needed to be made. I decided to hold off on those. I thought right time to go into all that. I know some, other websites have done that and talked about change and, what can we do to use as far as going into the off season. I didn't feel right about writing those. So I decided not to do that. But yeah, this week I'm just going to focus on the Miami Dolphins and what we can do to exploit both sides of the ball and really step up, focus on the run game. I think is something I'm going to be writing about this weekend, because I think, like I said in the podcast, I think that is critical for us going forward. Good teams run the football down the stretch in November and December. Good teams, great. If you can run the football, you have really good chance of winning games down late in the season, and that's what gets teams into the playoffs, and that you can get to the Super Bowl by doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the way you think, and that's something that I hope to basically incorporate here with Buck, what you heard, and just focus on the game, the next game, not focusing on the end of the season, not focusing on draft picks. Just focus on what's going on right now this week and what we did last week, as opposed to talking about the draft or a new quarterback or a new running back, a new secondary, a new coach. No, just focus on what the next game is going to be. And when we get to the end of the season, that's the fun part where we kind of get in and say what if, and you come up with your ideas. And me, this off season was a real learning experience for me, based on all the misses I had with the Bucs draft picks, basically. So this is going to make me have to sharpen my game up a little bit to come with some reasonable picks. So that's something that I'm going to have to actually work on. definitely going to lean on you and realbuckstalk.com as well to get that information. So that's something I'm gonna have to do.
Yeah. Yeah, just, guys, follow Real Bucks Talk. Of our specialties. But again, that's in the off season. Right now, we have to focus on the Miami Dolphins, and hopefully we can get that fourth win of the season and start turning things around. I think just getting a good streak going, getting on a positive mindset, building the confidence of these players, I think will be very good. Even if we miss the playoffs, I think just finishing the season strong is very important next season.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, we would like to make the playoffs. Every team wants to make the playoffs. But yeah, I think it's just finding a consistency, finding an identity. That's something this team needs. And going forward, I think we're going to start to see that. I think on defense, I think they found their identity. It's just about honing that in and keeping it going consistently. But yeah, guys, I appreciate everybody who follows Real Bucks Talk and checks out our articles. I appreciate everyone that joined us. I really enjoy doing it with Gene, with you guys, and what we think about the Bucks. Again, experts, we're not always right. Again, we admit when we're wrong, but we just love talking Bucs football, and that's what we're here about. And it's really fun each week, and try to enjoy this. Season goes so fast.
Yeah, and then you're sitting there mad because the season's over and you got to wait till preseason. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So really enjoy it.
Yeah, I totally get you on that. I know for me, it's a pleasure having you on because of what you know, and you have a great football mind when it comes to just talking about this. I like the fact that you talk more about your information comes from game film more than statistics. And you seem like somebody who tends to shy away from statistics and deal more with this is the play they ran. This is what happened, and this is why the play didn't work. And that's kind of the direction that I try to go. And that's why I really appreciated you. When I first met you, I really appreciated the fact that you looked at the film, you weren't looking at the statistics. And it makes you appreciate, the game a whole lot more when you can look at it through that prism.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, stats can only get you so far.
But tape don't lie.
You could have, stats, stats can be misleading. I mean, you could have an offense in yards and scoring points. I mean, that's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to win you games. Game is about scoring points, and how many points you give up determines wins. And execution, like we've been saying. I mean, that's what matters.
Exactly. Wins and losses, and the tape don't lie.
Yeah.
But anyway, unbelievable. It's been a whole hour already, and here we are. Normally we would be on Wednesdays. We will be back on Wednesday to kind of get this up again. Again, thank you so much. As usual, you bring it, and I appreciate your knowledge on this. And folks, I will get this uploaded here shortly. So look for this on SoundCloud and Libsyn. I'll have this up on Libsyn as well. So anyway, that's pretty much it for me. Folks, hang in there. The season's not over. Let's not start looking at the draft yet. Let's see how the Bucs are going to finish up this season. And I know things look kind of bad at first, but these are all winnable games. So let's go out there and support this team and see what we can do. And remember, buck what you heard. That's pretty much it for me. Enjoy the game this Sunday. God bless, and everybody have a good night.